Hi, and welcome. Thank you so much for joining me for this introduction to mindfulness meditation. As we begin, I wanted to see if you could take out either a piece of paper or you could even use your phone in the notes section or what have you. But if you could just take a moment to find between 2 and 5 words to describe how you're feeling right in this moment. And just jot that down. We're not going to share it, and it's um, not information that we have to dive into deeply. It's just for you. It's just a little personal check-in. So how you're feeling right in this moment. Hi there, welcome.
Hi.
Hi, glad you could make it. We're just doing a little check-in with
Sure.
ourselves. We're doing a 2 to 5 word description of how you're feeling right now in this moment. Anxious, happy, sad, nervous, whatever it might be. You can just write it down or you can keep it in your mind. It's just for you.
Okay.
Right. So I'm grateful that you're all here. There is a really beautiful Sanskrit word called svadhyaya, which means self-study, to observe what's been studied and to, pass this information along. So the teachings of mindfulness and meditation, it's ancient teachings. So you are practicing svadhyaya right now as we come together, whether you knew that or not. So I'm glad that you took this time for yourself. It's not easy to shift away from all the doing and to give yourself this kind of a gift. So thank you for being here. So before we start to really dive in, I thought we could just do a quick little grounding meditation, maybe 4 to 5 minutes, just to allow us to arrive in this space. There is a little mudra, and because I'm a yoga teacher, I can't help but throw my yoga pieces in here. There's a little mudra that goes along really nicely with the practice of svadhyaya. It's just a little contemplative gesture. You can take your right hand, place it on top of your left, take your thumbs and connect your thumbs. You create like a little triangle with the hands, and then just place your hands right in your lap. So left hand under right, thumbs connect, hands in your lap. You can find this mudra, or you don't have to. You can place your hands wherever you like. But that's just kind of a nice way to drop in. Find a comfortable way to sit. You can be seated in a chair. You can be lying back, whatever you like, but get really comfortable in your body and relaxed. We're looking for a natural curve of the spine. So we don't want to over effort so that our shoulders are pulled back so tight that you feel tense, but you don't want to be slouching and rounding your shoulders either. So find that place in the middle, that sweet spot. And if you like to close your eyes, you're certainly invited to do so. You could also turn off your camera if that feels better. Keep it on, whatever you like. And if you'd like to keep your eyes open, maybe you could just soften your gaze just a little bit, or take the gaze down to honor the wisdom center of the heart space. So let's begin by just noticing all the points of the body that are touching down on the earth. Notice the placement of your hands. Maybe you found that lovely Dhyana mudra. Perhaps your hands are on your thighs or in your lap. And you can just ask yourself, how do I know that I have hands without looking? You just know, right? We can feel the hands from within, from the inside out. So just feel into your hands for a moment. And then just expanding your awareness to the entire body sitting right here in this moment. And now just come into the breath. Notice what it feels like to be aware of the breath entering and exiting your body. And just ask yourself, where do I feel the breath in the body? If it's helpful, you can take 2 or 3 breaths that are a little deeper than you would normally take, just to help you sense that place in the body where you feel your breath or where the sensation of breath is most pleasant. Maybe you notice your breath at your nostrils where the air comes in, or at the back of the throat, or maybe in your chest or at your belly. Just take a few moments to sense the breath moving in and out of the body. And if thought comes into the mind, just notice that here comes a thought and return back to the body, back to the breath. Just letting the body breathe itself. Feeling the chest moving, the air flowing in and flowing out. This is a direct sensory link to being alive right here in this moment. Every time you feel yourself breathing, you draw yourself back into presence. And see what else you can notice about this moment. All right. And then you can just begin to deepen your breath. Nice big full exhale all the way out. All right. If your eyes are closed, you can blink your eyes open, coming back into our space here. All right. You can keep your screens on or off, whatever feels most comfortable for you. I would like for you to just once again take another moment to just come up with 3 to 5 words about how you're feeling now in this moment. After you've had a chance to arrive here in our space, shifting away from all the efforting and doing that was happening this morning. You're here now. You've given yourself the gift of this time together. So just jotting down how you're feeling right now. It's beautiful awareness to just notice. So often we don't pay attention at all to what's going on in our moment. We find ourselves on autopilot, and that's really normal. That's the conditioned state of the human nature. But it is really important to check in with yourself whenever you can. So I would love to take a moment and ask you all to, if you don't mind, share maybe your name, where you are, where you're from, And what interests you? Like, what brought you to this session? Would anybody like to start? Just tell us a little, just a quick one. How you're doing, who you are, where you're from, and why you're interested in mindfulness meditation. Would anybody like to start?
I will. I am presently at work, and my name is Kamar, and I work for the Department of Legislative Services. I received this invitation through our primary secretary or executive administrator, and I'm interested in mindfulness. I've had quite a few sessions in mindfulness, and I wanted to just compare.
Thank you very,
You're
very much,
welcome.
Kumar.
I'm
Wonderful.
very relaxed now too, extremely
Good.
relaxed.
I'm glad to hear that. Good. Off to a good start. Thank you. Bridget, were you trying to unmute? Yeah. Okay. Would you like to go next? Oh, you can't unmute. Okay. Okay. You can type in the chat if you like. I'm sorry that you're having trouble. Or you might be on your iPhone. It says Bridget's iPhone. So sometimes that gets tricky with the iPhones. Who would like to go next? Hi there. Yes.
Hi, I'm Anne, and I've been a fan of Kathy's for a long time, and I love your yoga classes, and I want to calm down in general. I'm a little hyper and stressed, and I need this, and I want to learn how to do it more, and I appreciate this class. Thanks.
Thank you, Anne. Thank you for saying that. That's wonderful. Appreciate it. Are you in your home space?
Yes.
Okay, great. And you're in Annapolis. Great.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Great. All right. Who'd like to go next?
I unmuted.
There she is. Wonderful. Okay,
Feels like my fingers don't always work with these phones. I just had to keep pressing it. My name is Bridget, and Kathy has been a part of my yoga practice for as long as I can remember. So I'm really grateful for this training session, not really training, but we do kind of have to train ourselves to come back to ourselves. So that's why I'm here. I want to get back to myself. Myself is a happy-go-lucky, not a nervous, ears up to the shoulder person, which I forget that sometimes. So that's why I am here in Annapolis, and I am working from home today. So and I live my life in Annapolis. I barely ever leave, except to find waterfalls or adventures, which unfortunately aren't here in Annapolis.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Bridget. That's great. It's good to see you.
Good to see you.
Anyone else like to share?
I'm Heather, and I'm in Crownsville working from home. I'm at DLS too, and I'm interested in meditation just because I'm like in a stressful phase of life right now with like a toddler and a baby, and also caregiving for my parents. So definitely sandwich generation. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, you've got hands full with different, yeah, as you said, different generations. That's beautiful. Thanks for being here from Crownsville. Appreciate that. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I'm Ron, and I live here in Annapolis. I'm in my happy place, my little office. I live about a block from the water, so I can walk up to the bluff every morning and make sure the bay's still there. I don't have a full-time job anymore because I did 30 years in IT. And how I got into yoga was I used to actually have a team in India, and I spent some time in India. And one of my colleagues was into yoga. He got me into it about 9 or 10 years ago. And then I am a Kathy fan, by the way. I've had a number of yoga instructors, but I'm very fortunate that ran into Kathy. And I was always a bit. I've always, like most humans, had a bit of anxiety and nervousness. You know, we're just these little humans. We pop out, and all of a sudden, it's a wild world we're in. And so as I've taken this journey now that I'm in the 7 club of over that age, I'm always trying to keep it real and keep it calm. And I wanted to hear what Kathy had to say about that. I find yoga to be pretty much an essential part of my life, either at home or with other people. But it's a calming thing, and it keeps you flexible, and that's very important. You don't move, you don't groove, you know? That's my story.
Wonderful, Ron. Thank you so, so much. And I'm a fan of all of you too. So just know that it goes both ways. So thank you so much for being here, Ron. I'm grateful to have you. All right. Anybody else? Yes. Hi, Patricia. Yes.
Hello, I'm Patricia in downtown DC, where I normally reside, but I bounce back and forth between DC and Annapolis, and each is my happy place. So I like it all, and I'm lucky for that. I do have a mindfulness practice following the teachings of Thich Nhat Hanh. But more is more better, as I used to say as a 5-year-old. And I really want to listen and go more deeply with other teachers. And you always, every time it's a new experience, and every time it makes me realize that I can be calm more often, and I can see more clearly more often. And a few times I've been with you, Kathy, as a yoga teacher, but you've incorporated a little mindfulness in every class. I've thought, I want to be with her more often. And thank you for the offer today.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for being here. I'm really glad you are. And I'm a huge fan of Thich Nhat Hanh. So, and yeah, you've heard me drip him in and out of my teachings because he's had such a profound impact on my life, and really helped me to come home to myself, as Bridget said. And as you just mentioned, coming home is really what all of this is about, coming home to the essence of us, which the underlying nature of us is peaceful and calm and relaxed and at ease. The conditions of our lives create a lot of chaos and make it a little bit harder sometimes to access our essential nature, but it's there for us. Mindfulness reminds us of what's inside, and meditation gives us a chance to go right in. So these practices mean so much to me, and Thich Nhat Hanh was really at the helm. In fact, he's over there he's on my altar. I look at him every day when I teach my classes. I turn to the right and there he is for me. For the legislative services, I teach from my home space, if you've ever taken any of my yoga classes. And he's up there with us every day. So thank you for that very, very much. All right. So anybody else want to share? Cindy, would you like to share? Yeah.
So I am Team Kathy all the way, coming to you from the floor of my guest room, where I'm hiding because it's the only quiet place that I can get these days, but only if no one knows I'm here. And I look to this whenever you offer it. So grateful for it, because I'm at the stage where my mind operates as if it was the kitchen junk drawer that you've dumped on a trampoline. And it's just like everything. And to see the difference just in those first 5 minutes of sitting down to start this, going through that mini meditation and just getting all the junk sort of flattened down, maybe not organized, maybe not in a great pile, but everything is flattened down, is just proof of how beneficial it is and how much I need it.
Yeah. Thank you. Cindy was with me. I taught a 4-week introduction to mindfulness meditation session at the old Ruah studio. And Bridget was in a couple of sessions, and Cindy was with me back in the day when I first started teaching this beautiful stuff. So thank you for coming back and for caring about the practices. It's wonderful. It's so funny. It reminds me of this quote. I'm going to find it in my notes here because it's so powerful. From Sharon Salzberg, a lovely Buddhist teacher. And she says, mindfulness isn't difficult. We just have to remember to do it. And so that's really the whole idea of just coming back again and again to the practice that's right here waiting for us. It's always been here. We just have to remember to take the time to pause, right, and to breathe. So I wanted to start off by telling you a little story about some chaos that happened with me this week and how it directly relates to our thinking mind and the thought process and mindfulness. So earlier in the week, I let both my dogs out for the last time of the night. They go out every night before bedtime. I let the two of them out. I have an Australian Shepherd. She's about 50 pounds, and I have a 10-pound Yorkie. So I've got the big and the little. They're two little girls. They both went outside for their final trip. And then here comes a fox. I don't know if you guys have foxes in your neighborhoods, but we've got lots of wily little foxes out here. And so here comes this fox, and it cruised right across my yard, and they went wild, you can imagine. So we have an invisible fence. The dogs generally stay inside the parameters of the fence. The Yorkie has never, ever, ever even gone up to the edge of the fence. She knows and she backs up. The Aussie has gone over because she's like that. So anyways, they both busted through the fence. Shockingly, that fox was that enticing, busted through the fence, and they were gone into the woods, and I was panicking. You can imagine. It was very stressful. All my kids, everybody gets up, the neighbors are out, everybody's trying to help us with the dogs. Total chaos. And within maybe 10 minutes, the Australian Shepherd came right on back. She is a very loyal dog, and I think she has a little separation anxiety, so she doesn't like to not be where we are. She came home right away, and she came home into the safe house, and she was good, and we were loving all over. Oh, you're back. Yeah, you're back. The Yorkie didn't come back, and she was gone for hours and hours in the night. It was absolutely terrifying. But that fox was so intriguing to her that it took her into the woods. She had gotten into some muck. I don't know if she was down in the ravine, but wherever she ended up, she was an absolute mess. When she was found up on the main road where all the cars go, she was found by a gentleman who was just getting off work, and he scooped her up and got her, and she was returned to us safely. That's the good news. But we had several hours of full steam panic trying to find her. So I was reflecting on this. I was meditating and sitting in reflection, and I thought, oh my gosh, that fox is not unlike our thoughts. The thoughts will come whenever we get still. Whether you're being mindful, whether you're sitting in full meditation, whether you're in yoga and you're in Shavasana, as soon as we calm down, here comes a thought, right? And when we hitch a ride onto that thought, it can take us off to very distant lands. It can take us off into dangerous territory. My Yorkie followed that fox off into almost her death. I mean, she could have been killed by those cars up on the road. My Aussie came home back again, came back to where it's safe, came back to herself, came back to her home. And for me, it was such a profound teaching in its own really kind of messed up way, because while it was happening, it was the most tragic experience. I thought everything. I thought birds of prey, something's taken her away. I thought, the fox and she might have gotten into a thing that could have killed her. So we had a lot of stress around that, but it just reminded me that, when we hitch a ride on the thoughts that are going to come in our still moments, it can take us off to distant lands in the future, thinking about things that have never happened yet, or it can take us back into past thinking where there's a lot of regret, a lot of coulda, shoulda, woulda, blaming, shaming. A lot of that stuff can really happen. So I tell you that story mostly because I want you to recognize that it's very, very, very normal to want to have a practice, a meditative practice, to try to start a practice, and to realize that you're bombarded with a lot of thoughts in your mind. We're going to talk a little bit about meditation in a moment, and about your meditative practices and whatever you've tried before. But I want to start off with mindfulness so I can explain to you a little bit about the difference. Because I've had a lot of people say, what's the difference between mindfulness and meditation? Isn't it kind of the same? And so what's mindfulness meditation? So how does it all work? So I want to give you a little insight, and I want you to be sure that you know to ask me any questions as we go along. You can interrupt at any time. We can keep this as informal as you like. All right, so mindfulness. Jon Kabat-Zinn is sometimes referred to as the father of mindfulness. He's a professor and a founder of the Stress Reduction Clinic and the Center for Mindfulness in Medicine, Healthcare, and Society at the University of Massachusetts Medical School. He's an amazing man, and he defined mindfulness this way. He says, mindfulness is the awareness that arises from paying attention in a particular way, and that way is on purpose, moment by moment, and non-judgmentally. So when you kind of pick that definition apart, two things really pop out for me. The first one is that mindfulness isn't paying attention per se. It's the awareness that arises from paying attention. You know, paying attention is paying attention. So mindfulness is more what comes in the moments that we are paying attention, right? And the other thing that really struck a chord with me the first time I heard that definition years and years ago was the part about non-judgmentally. So it's paying attention to the moments of your life that are here without trying to label them as good or bad. It's without trying to change them and make them something different than they are, or wishing them away. So that's where the non-judgment comes in. It's a very compassionate way of being with your experience. And again, not trying to make it something different than it already is. So the mind is hardly ever in the present moment. As I just mentioned, you're either rehashing the past, trying to kind of relive your experience and judging that, or you're rehearsing the future. You're kind of getting yourself prepared for what could be, and you're making plans, and you're thinking really very intently about the way the future could roll out for you. And what happens when we do that and we drop out of presence is that we miss the present moment. And you've probably heard me say this if you've been in one of my yoga classes, that, you know, the present moment is the real moment of our lives. It's the only moment that we really have to be fully alive, to make decisions, to grow, to heal, and really importantly, to be there for the people that we love in our lives. Because most of the time we're on autopilot, lost in thought. So we realize that we haven't really been there fully for our lives. I saw a statistic once, it was crazy. It said something like 45% of our days are spent lost in thought. So that's half of our lives, if you really break it down. Half of our lives lost in future planning for things that have never happened, or rehashing past and trying to change something that we can't go back and fix. So mindfulness, fortunately, offers us this shift of perspective, a shift of awareness. It allows us to actually live our lives as if they matter. And they, of course, do. They matter very much. This is our one life here. So mindfulness, again, is a way of being in relationship with the life, you know, that we have here, and it serves our highest good to be fully present for our lives. So a great way to just kind of see how you're doing throughout the day is to check in with yourself and say, am I here? Seems like a silly mantra, but you can put that in your notes or in your phone or just have it with you. Am I here? Ask yourself that. I tend to be a mindless driver. I'll give you that little bit of, my dirty truth. I'm not a bad driver, and I don't disregard the signs, and I follow the instructions, but I tend to get really lost in thought when I'm driving down the road. And my kids in the car sometimes will go, "What are you thinking about?" "Oh, there you go." And they see me because I get this a little bit of a glaze, like I'm fully watching the road and I'm doing my thing. But there's something about driving around that just makes me like lose presence, right? So when you start to notice your little habits and your tendencies to pop out of presence, then you're cultivating awareness. Try to be as kind to yourself as you can, because it's the natural state of the mind to pop out. But it's good to just sort of notice. So there's 2 little techniques that I wanted to share with you that are very helpful. And they're simple. One of them is called 2 feet, 1 breath. And for those who have trained with me in mindfulness before, you've heard me talk about this: 2 feet, 1 breath. And you can use it with little kids, you can use it with grown adults, you can use it with everybody. And basically, you're wherever you are, you're standing in the line at Trader Joe's, or you are having a conversation with someone, and you're starting to feel yourself drift off. You literally can like squeeze your toes on one foot, squeeze your toes on the other foot, and then take a breath. You're feeling into the body. You can do it with your hands too. You can squeeze your hand, take a breath. 2 feet, 1 breath. It brings you right back into presence. It's a simple little trick, because whenever you're in the feeling sense, the felt sense in the body runs in present moment. The body can't be in future, and the body isn't in the past. The breath that you're taking now is present moment. So if you can come back to your body, you can draw yourself back into presence. So 2 feet, 1 breath. That's a little trick for you to put into your toolbox. And another technique to kind of cultivate mindfulness is called STOP, S-T-O-P. And this one's pretty easy to remember because acronyms feed the brain in a way that other things don't. It's a great learning tool to have an acronym. So STOP, S-T-O-P. And the fundamental purpose of the STOP technique is to, again, come fully into this present moment, observe what's happening. We're observing instead of reacting. And you can feel into the body. So S stands for stop, literally stop what you're doing, and give yourself the gift of brief reflection. Just pause right there. T is take a breath. So breathe in and breathe out. You can even track your breath. As I asked you in that guided meditation in the beginning, where do you feel the breath? So when you take that breath, you can say, gosh, if you notice your breath is up here, you are likely in fight or flight. You're up in the heightened nervous system kind of state of being. If you feel it a little lower, maybe mid-body or down in the belly, you're moving into a more regulated state of nervous system, right? So just notice where you feel it. Maybe you feel it in the ribs, maybe you feel it in the throat, in the nose, but that's the T, is take a breath. The O is to observe your experience. And by observing your experience, I'm actually saying to notice the sensations in the body. Observe the story that's happening in this moment, right? And appreciate that thoughts are not facts, right? The way you feel isn't always true. It's not always the fact of the moment. It's a feeling. Feelings, sensations, emotions are fleeting. They come and they go, right? So when you can observe what's happening right now, okay, what am I telling myself? What belief am I holding on to in this moment that may or may not be true? Is this belief serving my highest good? Is this really helping me, or is this hurting me? Just explore your emotions for just a moment and get a sense of where you are in this moment. Have I drifted off? Am I here? Is it true? Those are the kinds of things you can do with the O of stop. And then the P is just simply to proceed. Proceed by moving forward in a way that feels right to you and is more consistent with your truth and with your values and with what you really want. Oftentimes we we proceed in ways that don't line up with our highest good. It's not what we want, but it's what we experience and what we're doing in a kind of a conditioned way. But it doesn't have to be that way. We can kind of break the cycle. I heard the other day something really cool, some new neuroscience. I think it was from Rick Hansen, or one of the wonderful neuroscience scientists out there, that said that we don't have to, negativity bias doesn't have to be our condition. It doesn't have to be our sentence. We actually can train the brain. We can create neural pathways to have different patterning. And boy, is that relieving. It's like such a great gift to know that we can actually be a glass half full person, and we can make some choices that line ourselves up with that. And as a little side note, one of the practices that he definitely encourages, which I think is great, is to really, when you incline the mind towards something positive and you're having a joyful experience because of inclining, like you point yourself in the direction of something really great, and then you have this great moment, he says, stay with it as long as you can. I think it's like 90 seconds at the bare minimum is the new science. Stay with the joy. Let the joy just penetrate your cells, get into, like, feel it, and stay with it as long as you can. That is the brain training that creates that pathway. The longer you stay, the deeper the path. It's kind of cool. So if something good happens to you over the weekend or today, hang out in that joy as long as you can. That's a little positive psychology for you on the side. All right, so I want to read you just a quick little poem by one of my favorite poets. She's from the southwestern part of Virginia, which is where I'm from. Her name is Donna Folds. You've heard me read from her a lot in my yoga classes. And she writes about presence because she actually had a lot of really great experiences in her life, but yoga offered her the opportunity to find the poet in herself. So she had this voice that she wasn't expressing. She started practicing yoga and had enough time to kind of come home to herself, that these poems just started flooding out of her. So in her later part of her life, she wrote numerous beautiful books of poetry, and it all came from stillness. So she writes about stillness from the truth of herself, from her heart. It's called Being Present. It's just a short little poem. She says, breathe, relax, and feel. Take time to slow down the pace of life. Watch the rise and fall of moods, the birth and death of dreams. Feelings and sensations seem so real, yet they shift like the changing clouds and flow with the high tide out to sea again. Allow it all to be. No need to grasp or push away. Present with each moment, the whole of you, body, mind, and soul, opens to receive. Yeah, I love that. So the big gift of presence is that we are open to the fullness of life. You know, we have this big, beautiful life with a huge spectrum of experiences. We've got the greatest joys and the greatest sorrows and every single thing in between. And when we're in presence, we're present to the experiences of our lives, we open ourselves up to the opportunity to experience this whole vast spectrum. There's so much life here in front of us. And as I said before, we're missing about half of our lives, lost in totally unnecessary thinking that causes us great suffering. So mindfulness is this beautiful practice. You know, it's not a religion, and it's not a technique, and it's not, it's just a practice. It's just a way of being in the world, being aware, cultivating awareness. All right. And then there's meditation, right? So I would love to ask you to just do like a little hand raise, and there's a little cool little reaction button at the bottom of your Zoom. So you can click on that and there's a little, you can put like a heart, a thumb, a clap, whatever. I'd love to have you guys, or you can just raise your own hand. But how many of you actually do meditate or have ever meditated before? Let's start with that. Who has ever meditated before? Yeah, great. Looks like most of you. Yeah, good. So there's lots and lots of different kinds of meditation, all sorts of styles and ways to meditate, lots of different ones. For the purposes of this session, we're talking about mindfulness meditation, and I'll go into what that really means. One researcher that I studied with had a definition of meditation saying that meditation is a practice where an individual uses a technique such as mindfulness or focusing the mind on a particular object or thought or activity to train attention and awareness and achieve a mentally clear and emotionally calm and stable state of being. Right? That pretty much covers it. So mindfulness meditation is one form of meditation. Again, there are lots and lots of other different practices, devotional practices, there's visualization practices, contemplative practices, different ways to meditate. And again, the idea is to develop different kinds of qualities of the mind. And mindfulness meditation allows you to be with what's here right now. Again, back to the definition from Jon Kabat-Zinn, without trying to change or alter or fix or judge, that being the key word, the experience of the moment. Meditation is really a way to plant the seeds of mindfulness and water them so that they can grow throughout our lives. Right? So again, meditation is kind of a formal practice of mindfulness. Mindfulness is something you're doing all day long. You're noticing, you're not judging, you're aware of things. That's very informal as you go about your life. Meditation is a formal sitting practice that can be done either using an app. There's so many really cool apps out there now. We're really lucky to have Headspace and Calm and Insight Timer. And oh my gosh, there's hundreds of online resources for meditations. Guided meditations are beautiful. We'll do a short one before we wrap up today. But there's also the practice, the formal practice of sitting in stillness, which is what I practice. And I encourage everyone to try it, even 5 minutes. In fact, you'll find that if you set a timer for yourself and you sit for 5 minutes, it's pretty tough when you first start out. It seems like a really long time. I've been in a 5-minute meditation before and had to blink my eyes open like, really? We've only been here 3 minutes? Are you kidding me? Sometimes it can feel really long. But in the formal mindfulness meditation practice of stillness, that's not guided meditation, the way that I practice and the way that I teach is to set a timer for as long as you like, starting with 5 minutes. I think 5 minutes is kind of the bare bones. I mean, you can meditate for 3 minutes, surely even a minute, but 5 will start you on your path. So 5 minutes and get comfortable in your body. I like to close my eyes because I like to take the inner gaze, the inward gaze we talk about in yoga. If you like to keep your eyes open, that's fine. You just have to be aware that there is visual stimulation around you, and that can be distracting. So softening the gaze by keeping eyes open and just allowing everything to be here without it kind of drawing you in is a practice. So, and then just noticing your breath or finding an anchor that supports you. So maybe it's sound. Maybe you like to tune into the sounds around you. Maybe you like to feel a physical sensation. So maybe you like to just feel into your toes or your hands or your back or whatever part of your body where you want to draw your attention. That's fine too. I use the breath as my primary anchor. I like to feel where I can feel the breath, feel it coming in and out of the body, and stay with the breath. So as soon as you get still, here comes thought, because that's just the way that the mind works. Thoughts will come in and they will flood the mind, right? And our job isn't to deny that and to try to make that go away or to push it away. Instead, our job is to allow the thoughts to be part of our experience, right? This is the mindfulness piece of it all. Noticing what's here in the moment and watching it change. Thoughts, feelings, sensations, emotions shift and change constantly. There's a constant flow. It's literally like waves. They come in, they come out, the thoughts will come. You'll think about something, and in the very next breath, you'll be thinking of something else, and then it comes back to that same thought. And it's this dance of thought all around. Think of all those foxes, right? Like my dog, it's the foxes. They're all around, right? They're just coming around and they're there, and you're not going to be able to control your thoughts. You're not going to be able to make them stop. What we resist persists. If you try to push them away, they get stronger, right? We just let them be here and we give them no attention. When we attach to thoughts, we can get pulled away, like my dog, out to the highway, out to the main road and into troubled waters, right? So we don't attach, we just bear witness to what's here. My favorite analogy of all of the ones I've ever heard is to stand behind the waterfall. Here comes the thoughts, they're flowing down and it's a cascade of water and you're behind. You feel the spray, from that water. Think about Hawaii or some beautiful place with a gorgeous waterfall. You feel the spray, you know that it's there. But if you were to stick your head under that waterfall, it would, would knock you off your block. Even if you stick your finger in there, it alters things. Then you get lots of water in your face. Sit back, let it flow, and just know that you are the witness to all of that. It can be chaos, you can be pleasure, joy, but that doesn't need to be your experience. So you're training the brain to stay in presence and to be here and just bear witness to what's here without trying to change or fix, right? So that's mindfulness meditation. And it goes a little deeper than that. We don't have time enough today to go into all of what will happen in those experiences, because sometimes you can be there and you can be bearing witness to something that you're really not enjoying, very unpleasant moment. So how do you handle that? And what do you do in those moments? There's a lot more training that kind of comes with that. But essentially, you come back to your breath, you come back to your body again and again and again, and just feel into what's real and what's right here, right now. Before I go any further, are there any questions? I know I'm just like fire hose shooting all this at you guys because we have so little time today. Any questions about mindfulness, about meditation, about the difference between the two, or anything anybody wants to share? Okay. All right. It's Friday. I get it. All right. So before we have to wrap, I do want to just do a little practice because we can try this on for size. Now, I'm not going to have you sit in stillness and experience the mindfulness meditation that we talked about. That's a practice that you can try on for yourself. I want you to reach out to me anytime. Tell me how it's going. Tell me where your challenges are. We can regroup again anytime you like, and we can even practice together 5 minutes. I can set a timer and we can try it out. And then you can tell me how many thoughts you had in those 5 minutes or what your experience was. That's always an option. But for today, I just thought I would leave you with a guided meditation to just help you to feel back into the breath and into the body, because it's really important for us to stay in our bodies as much as we can. That's why we do yoga, so that we can be here and not so much here all the time, right? All right. So the invitation again is to get as comfortable as you can. You can turn your screens on or off. You can lay back. You can sit up still, sit up tall. But just come on into the space in a way that feels really honoring to you and comfortable. If closing your eyes feels like a good solution for you to help you feel more, close your eyes. And if it doesn't feel safe and that doesn't feel like an option for you, keep them open. You can choose. Just begin by allowing your awareness to scan through your whole body. And wherever possible, soften and release any obvious areas of physical tension. Just let go. You could start off by taking a couple of really very full breaths, and then allow your breath to be natural. Again, just bringing your attention to where you most easily detect the breath, or maybe where it's most pleasurable to feel the breath. Let this place of experiencing the breath be your home base or an anchor to the present moment. Noticing this breath right here. Again, if the breath is not a good home base for you, you can instead anchor your attention in the sensations of your hands, or just the sensation of your body sitting right here. Now, with a relaxed and an interested attention, discovering what the sensations of the breath or your chosen anchor feel like moment to moment. And where is your attention now? Each time you notice that your mind has wandered off, that is a moment of mindfulness. Gently bringing your attention back to the inflow and the outflow of the breath or your chosen anchor, offering a relaxed and wakeful presence. So now just scan through your body and notice if there's any particular sensations that are strong, calling your attention. And if so, just allow the breath or your home base to recede into the background, bringing in an interested and kind presence to the sensations. What do they feel like? You might be aware of heat or chills or tingling, aching, twisting, vibrating. With a soft, open awareness, just feeling the sensations just as they are. Noticing, are they pleasant or unpleasant? And as you fully attend to them, do they become more intense or do they dissipate? Noticing how they change. When the sensations are no longer a strong experience, returning to mindfulness of breathing or your chosen anchor. And then just ask yourself, what is happening inside me right now? How do I feel in this moment? And just one final time, returning to your home base, the breath, or the anchor of your sensation. Offering calm, steady attention to your anchor. Just learning to be centered and balanced and present for the breath and the living world of sensation, but also just wisely aware of this changing life. All right, and when you're ready, you can deepen your breath once again and just bring yourself back into this space. Send some gratitude to your heart, to yourself, for taking the time out today to cultivate awareness, which is really at the heart of mindfulness and meditation. It's just noticing what's here for you so that you can participate in life more fully. You can blink your eyes open and come back to our circle here, realizing that we have run out of time so fast. It went so fast. Yeah, it's so good to be with all of you. And, I hope that you will take some time to practice mindfulness throughout your day. You can do it in all kinds of places, in the shower, in the car. That's my practice. When your phone rings, take that pause and then answer and be fully present in conversation with people. There's no greater gift truly than your presence when you're with another human being, your full attention. The greatest gift you can give, I believe. So try, if you can, your little homework assignment, even for just a moment, drop into your body whenever you can, leave your head just for that time. And, maybe ask that question, where am I? Am I here? And see what that brings up for you. See how that cultivates awareness and brings you into presence. Yeah. So thank you all. I will open it up to anybody else who has anything else they want to say or any comments, any questions. I know we didn't really do a lot of Q&A. You can always email me anytime, and I can stick around a little longer. I just want to honor your time. You're welcome. You're welcome. You can unmute if you have anything else to say. Otherwise, I hope you have
What's the S in the stop? S.
Oh, the F. The S is stop.
Oh, stop.
That's actually stop. That's like pause right there.
Take a
Stop
breath,
what you're doing.
observe the experience, proceed. I got it. Okay.
Yeah. It's a great little technique. It's like STOP. And when I see stop signs now, I can't not see the stop in my head about mindfulness. I'm like, oh, it's so funny. Like, oh, I'm stopping. Thank you. Thank you. And it's, you can do lots of little things. You can put little sticky notes around your house that remind you, remindful notes, like, oh yeah, you can set alarms on your phone. I have a really cool app that I absolutely love, that I've told many of you about. So for those who appreciate Thich Nhat Hanh, the Plum Village where he lived and practiced for many, many years, and I think he actually built Plum Village. There's an app for Plum Village if you go to the App Store. And Plum Village has a very, very cool little, I would show it to you, but I'm sure it won't pop up. Kind of looks like that. It has all these little options for meditations, but one of the coolest things that they have is they have a meditation timer. So you can set the duration for as long as you want it to be, and actually rings the actual bell that they ring in Plum Village, France. So it's the actual sound. It's beautiful sound. And you can also, super cool, there's this little thing called Bell of Mindfulness. And you can set this little timer so that the bell will go off on your phone as often as you want throughout the day. So I do it every hour. And so it rings and it reminds me to stop and get present. It's super cool. Now you have to beware because it will ring in all kinds of random places and you'll forget that it's on your phone. I'll be teaching a class and the bell will go off and I'm like, sorry, everybody, you know. So, but it's kind of cool, bell of mindfulness. So you could set it for every 15 minutes if you wanted. It would go off like crazy. But if you need support to remember, because like Sharon Salzberg says, we just have to remember. So that's the hardest part. Yeah. All right, you guys,
Okay.
how wonderful
Kathy.
to have this time together today. Thank you all so much. And we'll do it again anytime if you just reach out and say, do this again, and I'll do it again anytime. All right. Have a blessed weekend. Be good, everybody. I'll see you in yoga or I'll see you on Zoom at some point.
Thank
All
you.
right. Okay.
Thank
Thank
you.
you all.